there's only one place we can start the show at this week, mate, and that is Messi at Miami. Had 2 great assists. They beat FC Cincinnati in penalty kicks in the semi-final to advance to the US Open Cup final. So he did it again, right? He didn't score, but those 2 great assists. It was sensational to see him do that. And let's put it into context. Miami are bottom of the Eastern Conference. Cincinnati are top of the Eastern Conference. Yeah. They went there as favorites purely because of Messi and Alba Busquets, what they've been able to do since they've arrived. But in his first month now in America, he's won the League's Cup trophy for Inter Miami's first ever trophy. And now they are in the final at home against the Houston Dynamo in September. And there's a chance to win 2 trophies within the first couple of months of him being an MLS player. And by the way, hasn't actually even played a game in MLS yet because of the Cup success. So sum up, you're on shift for PST covering this game. Sum up what it meant to see Messi do this and to kind of get that assist right at the end of normal time, to take it to extra time. Again, this is fairy tale stuff from him on a weekly basis.
Yeah, the signing is a success if he never plays a minute in actual MLS. I think at this point already, what he has done and the way that he has made this, he's taken an MLS team and made them must-watch television twice a week for the last month. And as somebody who's watched MLS for going on 20 years, covered the league for a decade, that's amusing to me. I find that very hilarious that an MLS team is getting this kind of recognition, not just within the United States, but around the world as well. And that tells you the star power of, I think, inarguably, at this point, the greatest player of all time. And that's not to do with what he's doing in Miami, but you go to a new place and you show that you're going to take it seriously. You show that you're going to just be one of the guys on the team as well. And that's one of the things that continues every single game to stick out to me. It's not the fact that he's flying with the rest of the team commercially, because that's how MLS works and operates. It's not that they're winning games and that he's at the center of all that. It's the fact that, and we've talked about this before, he's got his joy back to be playing the game. He is having a great time. And I'm sure a little bit of the spectacle around him is probably a little amusing to him as well. Oh, it's just a Cup semifinal on the road. Why are these people cheering for me? It probably feels a bit weird, I'm sure, in a way. But the love and respect and adulation that he gets on a night-to-night basis, it's so cool to see. And I think that anybody that went into this thing skeptical about, well, he's 36 years old, MLS is a retirement league, we've seen this before, this is going to, I think, single-handedly change, maybe not in fans' minds, because fans are a bit irrational, but I think in the minds of players and future players coming to the league, I think this is really going to change the way that they look at the league when they arrive in MLS, because they have seen the best player ever take it very seriously from the first moment to the last moment. And if they show anything other than that, then they are a disappointment. And so I think he's raising the standard of the league already, as you say, before he's even played a game in the actual league.
Yeah, it's a great point you made there about the joy being back for him, because I feel like we're seeing him do the kind of things he did for Barcelona year in, year out. And that the couple of years in PSG, obviously we know that was a stopgap solution, right? That was just, I kind of have to leave Barcelona. I guess I go to PSG because they can afford me. But going to Miami and MLS always seemed to be the next step for him after Barcelona. And it's almost like, okay, I'm delighted. I'm happy to be here now. This is when I'm meant to be here. And he's just embraced it. He wants to be there. Obviously, his family off the pitch is a big part of the reason why he moved to Miami and moved to the US as well. So I think when stuff like that starts to happen, and, you know, he's Messi, of course, he's, you know, adored across the world. But when you're playing in a team where you're loved, where you're just, you've got a coach and players around you that are bringing out the best in you and allowing you to do what you do best, then it's just a great recipe. And I think that Miami must be applauded for putting all the pieces around Messi at the right time for when he arrived. It's like, okay, it's go time now. This is almost the reboot of Inter Miami. And, you know, you can see around the city itself, whenever Messi's there at home, people love the team there. And that hasn't always been the case since they arrived in MLS. There's been hardcore supporter and fan bases that have really followed the team for the first couple of seasons as a franchise. But now they are Miami's team. And I think this is just going to take it from strength to strength. And you know what? I could see Messi extending his stay past his initial contract as well. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself now. It's pretty early. Anyway, in terms of the assist, though, the second one in particular was incredible, right? The way he whipped it in, and then seeing fans in the stands in Cincinnati, home fans, I would imagine, celebrating, and they all had Messi number 10 Argentina jerseys on. Again, this points to that road show and the mania that we've seen, almost Beatlemania-esque around the US, wherever he's played at away grounds now. People just turning up, hoping that their team wins, but more so hoping that Messi does something like this. And two great crosses from Campagna to those two goals to wipe out that 2-0 deficit and just peak Messi, right?
Yeah, we've seen him a couple times already place the ball wherever he wants in the goal. We were starting to see him just place it wherever he wants on foreheads and around the goal and in the penalty area. For anybody that's maybe new coming to the sport, though, and watching this for the first time, I think you get a real idea because of the talent that does exist and the fact that he is so clearly another level to, with all due respect to everybody in MLS, everybody on the field with him now, but anybody on the field with him pretty much throughout his career, what a player of that caliber can do. And the way that you can control the game and manipulate the ball and put it where you need to be and set others up for, really easy goals by doing all of the hard work. It's just, there's levels to this game, right? Like there's players that can just score a goal. There's players that can just assist goals. He can obviously do both, but he can do both to such a level that when you watch it, you instantly know, I'm watching something special here. This is not normal. This is not an everyday type of thing. And the fact that that's happening, here in the United States, and that he still clearly has so much left to go in his career as well. And there's still so much quality and so much desire for him to continue playing on like this. 2 years left, a little over 2 years left on this initial deal. I'd love it if he stayed a little bit longer. We'll see how that plays out. My question would be, do Inter Miami, aside from maybe MLS Cup this year, because the playoffs are a long way off, do they ever lose a trophy in the time that Messi is there? Because it's not just the quality, again, but it feels like the inevitability that exists around him and this team now. I didn't even start writing the open to the recap when it was 95th, 96th minute last night, Joe. I knew better than to do that. And we jinx a lot of things on PST when we do that. But I knew, and look what happened.
Yeah, look what happened. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to think about another sporting figure in any sport around the world who has this kind of universal adulation in terms of wherever he goes, even though he's on the other team, everybody wants him to do well. Everybody wants to see something great from him. And I think from an individual sport, Tiger Woods is the obvious example to make a Messi wherever he goes in the world. People want to see him win, want to see him do well. But from a team sport perspective, I don't know, man. Like maybe LeBron James. I don't know. The NBA fans want to see him do well wherever he goes. I don't know. I'm really struggling that anybody else is on this level of people just want to see him no matter what their team is. They put all that to one side and they just want to see Messi. Yeah,
I think you got to go back probably about 20 years to the end, he was I would say a shell of himself, but actually probably pretty comparable to where Messi's at in his career now. But when Jordan went and played for the Wizards for a season or two, I think there was a bit of the traveling circus kind of spectacle because everybody understood it was going to be the end. But at the same time, people in the U.S. had been seeing Jordan for 10 and 15 years as a professional, and so he wasn't new. So it's just, there's that whole other dynamic that makes this phenomenon just, it's Beatles-esque is what it is. And I think we've said that a few times since he's come over, but that's what it feels like. You look back to what was it like when the Beatles planes touched down and they got off the bus to go into the arena to do the show that night. That's what it feels like with Messi. And it's, again, as somebody who's covered this sport for over a decade now in this country, that's bonkers to me. I cannot believe that the sport and the league is at this point having this moment right now.
And I guess the only other comparison you can make on like an American soccer landscape would be Pele and the NASL, the heyday of that with Beckenbauer and the Cosmos and everything. So, but again, I think this is next level. And this will be something we'll look back on in 20, 30 years time and remember the goals he scored, the assists he had. And let's see.
I'll look back on this next week and be amused by it. Still, I don't need 10 or 20 years to find that.
Yeah, and of course, now he's coming up into MLS action. So welcome to MLS, Messi, and welcome to the rigors, because this week, of course, we could see they're way out of the playoff picture, but they do have games in hand on teams above them. So they who's to say they aren't going to have a great surge in the second half of the season and just sneak into the playoffs? And they do, watch out, because surely they'll be one of the favorites to win MLS Cup. But they play at New York Red Bulls this weekend. Then they're at home midweek against Nashville next week. So Miami, New York, Miami. And then they're playing away at LAFC the following weekend. So within a week, they're going Miami, New York, Miami, LA, then back to Miami. So that will be a true welcome, I think, to MLS and everything it has to offer. So it's been wonderful to watch Lionel Messi in US Open Cup semi-final glory. And now we're going to see him in the final. And remember, you can watch in Spanish on Telemundo and on Peacock the final against the Houston Dynamo coming up on September the 27th. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch and see how they get on and they can lift another trophy. So yeah, we'll keep you updated on Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com on this historic run that Messi's having at the start of his Inter Miami career. And I feel like, Andy, we said it a lot, it's just the start of things to come. It's just crazy.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.